Welcome to Ntiva's webinar for July 2025. I'll be your host again, Ted Brown, Director of Product Management here at Ntiva. And today we're going to get into unlocking underused Microsoft features. Many organizations use Microsoft 365 daily for your email, documents, and meetings, but I think we often overlook the wealth of powerful tools already included in our subscriptions today. In this webinar, we'll highlight 5 underused Microsoft 365 features: Power Automate, Microsoft Lists, Microsoft Loop, Microsoft Purview, and finally Microsoft Viva Insights, and show how leveraging them can solve common business challenges without additional licensing costs. Through key features, practical use cases, and best practice tips, we'll illustrate how these tools can drive efficiency, collaboration, governance, and productivity at no additional costs. All right, so as we said here, we're going to get into a little bit of tips and tricks for Power Automate, Microsoft Lists, Microsoft Loop, Microsoft Purview, and finally, Viva Insights. So first on the list here we're going to talk about is Microsoft Power Automate, which is Microsoft's workflow automation service that enables users to create automated process flows between apps and services at little to no code. It streamlines repetitive tasks and connects disparate systems so employees can focus on higher value work. And some key features of Power Automate include, first, low-code automation. This is going to be a cloud-based drag and drop flow designer that lets automated processes without extensive coding. Pre-built templates in AI Assistant Copilot make it easy to build flows with natural language commands. Next up, Microsoft Power Automate has what's called Robotic Process Automation, RPA for short. Power Automate supports both cloud flows and desktop RPAs, intended or unintended, to automate tasks on legacy systems or the web. This means everything from web form data entry to local file processing can be handled automatically. Microsoft Power Automate also has hundreds of connectors for seamless integration with the entire Microsoft 365 suite, SharePoint, Teams, Outlook, Dynamic 365, etc. And many third-party apps allow you to link systems together. For example, a flow can update a SharePoint list when Salesforce record is created. Power Automate acts as a glue across your IT landscape. Also, Power Automate has what's called triggers, conditions, and actions. Flows can be triggered by events. Example, when an email arrives, then evaluate condition if an invoice is greater than $5,000, and then finally execute an action, then post a Teams alert. This logic-driven approach can model complex business processes. And finally, Microsoft Power Automate has an AI builder, which is building AI capabilities can have extra intelligence into the workflow, such as form processing or sentiment analysis, further expanding what you can automate. Now, automating routine tasks with Power Automate addresses common business pain points like delays, errors, and wasted time. You can create an instant notifications and alerts instead of manually monitoring systems and setting automated alerts. For example, when a new file is uploaded to SharePoint or an invoice is approved in your ERP system, trigger an email or Teams notifications to the relevant team. This ensures nothing falls through the cracks. Also, potentially you can incorporate automated workflows or approval workflows. Remove bottlenecks and approvals. Example, document sign-off leave request. Power Automate can route approval requests to managers and send reminders. If a manager forgets the approval email, a flow can ping them in Teams 2 days later. Criteria can be auto-approved. For instance, if a purchase request is under a certain dollar amount, the approve is automatically needed as put into place without human interaction. Also, you can do data entry and synchronization. You can minimize duplicate data entry across systems. When a sales rep adds a new lead into CRM, Power Automate can automatically create corresponding records in SharePoint with a list, an Excel sheet, or notify the teams. Similarly, a flow can keep two databases in sync. Example, you can update an Excel inventory whenever a SQL inventory changes. Also, you can set up tasks and reminders for follow-ups. You can ensure important tasks and deadlines aren't forgotten. For example, if a task in a product list becomes overdue, Power Automate can send a reminder email to Teams chat to the owner. You can also set scheduled routine reminders, daily, weekly, etc., for recurring activities like status reports of submissions. Also, another good one for this is HR onboarding process. Streamline bringing in new employees, Upon adding a new hire detail to a SharePoint list, Power Automate flow could create the account, assign license, send a welcome email, and schedule orientation meeting automatically. This saves HR coordinators a lot of manual coordination. Also up, you can put this in place for invoicing financing process, reduce manual work in finance. For example, when an invoice is received via email, a flow could extract the key details, log them into the financial system, forward them to invoice for approval, eliminating manual data entry and routing. Integrating with Outlook, Excel, and accounting software can fully automate these steps into accounts payable. And also you can do this with social media and marketing triggers. Power Automate isn't just limited to internal flows. It can be connected to external platforms as well. Marketing teams can use flows to monitor social media mentions or form submissions and respond quickly. For instance, if somebody tweets at a company, a flow could log the mention and alert the social media team or automatically categorize it by sentiment using AI. This helps the sales and support team react faster to customer inputs. Now, I've done a previous webinar strictly all on Power Automate. You can go ahead and scan this link. It will take you right to the blog as well as the webinar, so you can watch the tips and tricks actually how to put this together within the system. Now, if you're looking to get started and you haven't used Power Automate, I recommend starting with templates and the simple flow so you can see how all this works. Power Automate offers many pre-built templates for approvals, notifications, and data synchronization. Use them as a starting point. Pick a straightforward, high-impact process to automate first. Example for an email alert or maybe a simple approval process to build your confidence and understand how it works. Next, I would take a look at identifying repetitive pain points. Engage your teams to find tasks they do repetitively. Copy and paste data, sending routine emails, generally generating weekly reports. Those mundane tasks are prime candidates for automation. For example, if a staff are sending emails or spending hours each week on data entry, this is an opportunity for a flow. Next, I would look at leveraging the standard connections. Since Power Automate is included in Microsoft 365, you can use a wide range of standard connections at no extra cost. Take advantage of pre-built connectors in SharePoint, Outlook, Teams, Excel, Planner, which cover the most common scenarios. There are premium connectors to third-party apps and may require additional license for those, but often there are workarounds or native connections available. Once you get done doing this, I would recommend testing and monitoring your flows. Develop flows in a test environment and with sample data first. Once deployed, use Power Automate's run history and analytics to monitor performance. Ensure that the proper errors are handled. Example, if they're sending notification errors if a fail flows, so the automation doesn't fall silently. Next, I would look at educating and empowering our users. Train the relevant teams members on how the new automation process works. When people trust the automation, understand its benefit, they're more likely to embrace it rather than stick to the old manual ways. Highlight the time saved. For instance, employees may reclaim 10 hours potentially per week previously lost on a repetitive task by using Power Automate and freeing them for more strategic work. So next on the list here, we have Microsoft Lists, which is an informative tracking app in Microsoft 365 that helps you and your team organize data, manage tasks, track workflow visually. It's essentially evolved from SharePoint Lists, if you're ever familiar with SharePoint Lists back in the day, and is now available as a standalone app on the web, Teams, and mobile for Microsoft 365, which allows for easy list creation and collaboration. Instead of scattered spreadsheets or ad hoc task trackers, this list provides a central shared structure for any data your team needs to work on regularly. Some of the key features of Microsoft List include the ability to create flexible list structures. You can create lists from scratch or from ready-made templates for issues, tasks, events, and assets. These lists support a variety of columns: text, numbers, choices, dates, people assignation, hyperlinks, so you can capture exactly what the information you need. Example, you can create a task list that might have a task name, an owner, status, due dates, priority fields, including a drop-down choices for status on priority. Lists also include custom views and formatting. Large lists can be filtered and visualized with multiple views, standard grids, and views on rows and columns like a table. But you can also switch to a calendar view so you can see the date-based entries or a gallery view that makes cards for each item, which is good with if you have images on there. You can also define custom views, my task, view, filtered a task assigned to the current users, and apply conditional formatting, which can have color coded for priority items to make information pop out on the screen. Also with lists, which is actually very handy, different from Excel, is you can start creating some rules and alerts. Without any coding, users can set up simple if-then rules on the list under the covers within the Power Automates running behind the scenes. For example, if a list item changes to complete it, you can send an email to the team, all configurable through the list interface. This helps automate notifications and workflows tied to list data. You can also enable reminders, alerting me before a due date so you can stay on top of your deadlines. Also in Microsoft Lists, it allows for collaboration and integration, which is key for me. As a part of Microsoft 365, the list integrates seamlessly with other apps. You can embed a list into a tab in Microsoft Teams so the whole team can update it right from your channel. Lists can also connect with Outlook and send emails from a list, especially if we have Power Automate or Power Apps for extending the functionality. For instance, you might use Power Apps to build a custom form UI for your list. Permissions are tied to SharePoint so you can secure the shared list with specific people or if you need the whole org. Microsoft Lists also is available for mobility and allows for accessibility from anywhere you go. These are dedicated lists for mobile apps, and of course, you can utilize it across the web access as well, allowing users to view and edit lists on the go. Whether in your office or in the field, teammates can check off the task and add data right from their phones. Microsoft Lists also supports accessibility features for screen reading friendly, high contrast modes to ensure everyone can participate. In short, Microsoft Lists gives you a lightweight database in which you can track almost anything, tasks, products, inventories, ideas, contracts, in a way that's more structured than Excel sheet, but simpler than a full database. And since it's included in your Microsoft 365 subscriptions, it's ready for all users to use at no extra cost. Now, Microsoft Lists can be adopted in countless scenarios. Here are several real practical use cases that demonstrates its versatility in solving an everyday business challenges. First on list here is Microsoft Project and handling project task management. Managing projects with shared data lists. Create a list for a project, add tasks with deadlines, assign owners, and track status for percent completion. Team members can update their task status in real time and everyone can see their progress at a glance. Customized columns like priority or percent complete can help visualize the project's health. This replaces task spreadsheets or siloed to-do apps with a transparent collaborative plan. And this also gets around if you don't need to purchase the whole Microsoft project plan as well. So if you're doing project planning, check out List to see if that actual will hit your need there instead of spending the extra money with the Microsoft project plan 3 or 5. With Microsoft Lists, you can also do inventory tracking, maintain an up-to-date inventory of assets or stock, use a list to track items, quantities, locations, and suppliers. For example, an IT team might list company laptops with field or serial numbers, assignees, and warranty dates. Apply conditional formatting to highlight low stock or upcoming warranty expiration. Real-time tracking and lists helps avoid running out of supplies because everyone shares one source of truth. You can also use lists for event planning, coordinating events by tracking all the details in one list. For an upcoming marketing event, create a list to manage the venues, vendors, budgets, schedules, and RSVPs. Multiple organizers can update the list and tasks are completed, such as the venue booking, the catering confirmed, attendees RSVP'd. This centralized approach ensures nothing is overlooked in the event logistics and the whole team stays updated. One thing that we actually use Microsoft List for is bug and issue tracking. Software teams can use List as a lightweight issue tracker, log bugs for field, for description, reporting, severity, status, and resolution notes. As developers fix issues, they can update the status and add the notes. This provides transparency in the development process. All stakeholders can see which bugs are open and the process. Small teams can get easy bug databases without the needing of separate expensive tools. Another thing which I mentioned previously on the Power App You can also use Microsoft List for employee onboarding checklist. Standardize the new hiring process. Use a list as a onboarding checklist for each new employee. List items can include setup accounts, delivering equipment, required training, and team introductions. HR and IT can collaborate, update the list as each step is completed. Ensure that no part of the onboarding process is missed for each hire. The list could even have a template or one item per new employee and each subtask as a cross-off field. Next up, you can also use Microsoft List for customer leads or kind of creating a CRM light type application. You can track sales leads and customer inquiries in a simple list. For a small sales team without a full CR system, List can capture prospects with columns for contact information, last contact date, next action, and status. This ensures that teams follow up on leads and none slip through the cracks. While not as a full featured as Dynamics, a list can provide a mini CRM, can be stood up in minutes, to provide clear shared view of the sales pipeline. Now, these examples illustrate how Microsoft Lists can replace scattered tracking methods, emails, Excel files, personal to-do with a centralized collaborative tracker. By doing so, teams can solve common challenges so everyone knows who is doing what and when. Information is accessible, up to date, and nothing important gets forgotten. Now, getting started with Microsoft List. Now, I have not done a webinar on this, and I think it might be a prime time to get something scheduled maybe in the Q4. But when you want to get started with Microsoft Lists, I recommend, again, like Power Automate, choosing the right template to get this started. Creating a new list I would recommend starting from a pre-built templates if one matches your scenario. Microsoft Lists offers templates for issue tracking, project planning, event itinerary, asset management, which come pre-configured with useful columns formatting for use cases. This can save you time and setup time and showcase best practice for structuring your list. But also take a look at regular review and updates. A list is only useful as it is current. Assign owners to each list and schedule periodic reviews to keep the data fresh. For example, in a project list, task list, a weekly team meeting reviews all lists and ensure that everything is updated with statuses. Regular maintenance ensures that the list remains just a trusted source and team members are continuing to rely on it. Would also look at leveraging the views and formatting within Microsoft Lists. Tailored list views to the audience needs. Create a My Task view for individuals to see their items high priority or block views from focus on urgent issues. You can use conditional formatting, now it's possible in lists without code, to highlight overdue tasks or high severity issues in red. For instance, these can be visual cues to help your users identify what needs their attention exactly right at that glance. Um, Microsoft Lists also integrates with other tools, embedding important lists into Teams channels so everybody can find and edit them easily. If you have data in Excel, import it into a list to add collaboration and remove the virgin chaos. Also, consider using Power Automate with lists. For example, you can send an email summary of new list items each week to notify somebody when or you can notify somebody when they're assigned to a new task. This integration can turn a static list into part of a dynamic workflow. And lastly, encourage team collaboration. Make sure all relevant team members have access and edit permissions to the list they need. Encourage people to use comments on the list to discuss details or do the at mention of colleagues in the list items for comment or input. By sharing the ownership of lists instead of one person maintaining the spreadsheet, you can create collective responsibility and better data accuracy. Lists can also be co-authored in real time in teams, and multiple people can add or edit items simultaneously without conflict. All right, next up on the list here is Microsoft Loop, which has become one of my most favorite and probably one of my most used applications that I use on a daily basis. Microsoft Loop is a relatively new application and concept in Microsoft 365 designed for fluid collaboration. At its core, Loop provides flexible components like text paragraphs, tables, task lists that can be independently created and then shared across multiple 365 applications, staying in sync wherever they appear. Microsoft Loop consists of pages, which are free form canvases for content, and workspaces, which are a collection of these pages, where teams can think, plan, and create together in real time. Think of Loop as a convergence of documents and chat. Rather than locking in content to a single file or chat thread, Loop components are portable pieces of content that live in the cloud and can be edited from Teams, Outlook, Word for the web, or Loop app itself. Everyone sees the latest changes no matter where they are editing. Now, some of the key features of Loop are the Loop component itself. Now, these units of content, which is again the list, the tables, the task, the paragraph, everything that you're putting data into, that you can create once and can be embedded in multiple places after that. For example, you might insert a Loop task component into a Teams chat. This same task list can also be inserted into Outlook email or the Loop page itself. Whenever someone edits it, the updates appear instantaneously across all those locations. This is a real-time multi-service capability, eliminates the need to reconcile multiple copies of information. Microsoft Loop also has the Microsoft Loop Pages and Workspace. A Loop page is a flexible online canvas where you can drop multiple components, files, links, and notes. It's a bit like a wiki or a collaborative document, but much more modular. Pages can be grouped into workspaces, which might correspond to a project or a team. This structure helps keep related content together. For instance, a product launch workspace might have brainstorming, project plan, feedback board, and each page with various components embedded in elements. Microsoft Loop also allows for real-time co-authoring. Loop is built for simultaneously collaboration. Multiple team members can be typing or editing different components on the same page at once. You can see their changes character by character in real time, just like in Office web apps or potentially if you use Google Docs. This fluid component allows for co-authoring, which extends to multiple chats and email contexts. You can have a live note being edited in a meeting chat by some, while others are editing the same note on the Loop page directly. Now, one of the big features of Microsoft Loop, as I mentioned a little bit already, is it integrates into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. Now, Loop isn't a standalone app at all. It integrates with Teams, the Loop component in chats and meeting notes, Outlook, the components in the email bodies, and Word for the web, Whiteboard, and much more. It pulls in people via the app mentioned, and you can preview the linked Microsoft 365 content. The fluid syncing across these apps ensures that, for example, a checklist started during the team's discussion can be later updated within a Word document online. All changes reflected everywhere, keeping everyone on the same page. Now, soon to be, it's a future preview, is intelligent suggesting. Loop will be soon providing a AI help for driving this forward and making sure it's creating suggestions for related documents to pull into your workspace, or offering page template suggestions to get you started quickly. This can accelerate the setup of project space. Additionally, Microsoft 365 Copilot can work within Loop to assist in content creation, although that is an add-on service you utilize the Microsoft Copilot for 365. In essence, Microsoft Loop reimagines the collaboration by making content modular, shareable, and always up to date. It prevents the typical problem of collaboration where information gets fragmented across emails, chats, and files. Now, because Microsoft is relatively new, not every organization has adopted it yet, which means there's big opportunities to leap ahead in how teams can coordinate and work within Microsoft Loop. Now, here are some practical scenarios where Loop shines by solving common collaboration challenges. First one up, meeting notes and actionable items in real time. During meetings, instead of one person taking notes in a file and getting emails later, use Loop for note taking and action items. All attendees can contribute simultaneously, adding discussion points, decisions, and tasks. If somebody couldn't attend, you can always embed the same component into Outlook email or Teams chat to share the outcomes. Everyone always sees the latest version of the notes. This boosts engagements and ensures accountability since action items are immediately recorded and visible. I use this pretty much all the time for all my one-on-ones. It's been a fantastic addition to my weekly meetings with my employees. I used to use OneNote, completely moved to Loop, and it's been something I'll never look back on. Highly recommend trying out for meetings. Another good idea is utilizing this for brainstorming and ideation across teams. And imagine a cross-functional brainstorming session for new products. With Loop, you can have a shared workspace with a page for ideas. Team A can start a table of contents and ideas in the Loop app, and Team B can start adding thoughts to the table directly from the Teams chat conversations. Ideas flow without formats and barriers, and this fluid canvas allows for mixing text, images, even live data like live voting to make sessions creative and inclusive. Loop also is a great thing for utilizing for project planning or status tracking. You can use Loop to coordinate complex projects. For example, a project manager creates a Loop page for a project plan, including task list components for key milestones. The dev lead embeds the task list into Teams channel where engineers can update the progress, while project managers can view the same list on the Loop page along with the other project notes. This way, the status updates happen organically in chats but are not lost. They update the project plan in real time and to ensure everyone, engineers, the project manager, and stakeholders see the single update plan without extra meetings. Loop is also great for cross-document synchronization. Often teams maintain data in multiple places, for instance, an Excel sheet of metrics in a Word report that references those metrics. With Loop components, you can have a table of metrics as a component that is embedded in both Word, Excel-like Loop, and a monthly report document. You can update the numbers in one place. They change everywhere. This consistently reduces errors and manual copy paste and keeps all communication consistent. Also, you can use Loop for rapid feedback and iteration. Use Microsoft Loop to gather feedback on content. For example, during a proposal writing process, you can share a Loop paragraph component with a few reviewers via team chat. They can inline edit or comment on it, and you'll see the suggestions live as you refine the proposal on your side. It's as if they're all in the same document, but you just shared that piece. This approach lets you drastically cut down on the back and forth of email document versions. Now, I've done a webinar on Microsoft Loop relatively recently. I recommend scanning this QR code. It'll take you right to the blog we have about it, as well as a webinar to show you how to get started in Microsoft Loop. Again, highly suggest giving this a try. It is great with meetings. It's great with tracking tasks and making sure everyone's coordinated together. So really highly recommend checking that one out. Now, some tips and tricks for getting started. I would recommend identifying high value scenarios. Loop is most useful when teams suffer from information scatter. Multiple channels need to collaborate on one thing. Start by introducing Loop for scenarios like meeting notes, project plans, brainstorming, where it is real time and cross app sync capabilities replace slower processes like emails, wikis, and frequent meetings to sync up. Also, you try to use Loop for educating. Because Loop introduced a new way of working, provide demos to your teams with it. Show a single example, editing a list from Teams or watching an update on Outlook to illustrate the power of the tool. Early understanding of how Loop works will drive adoption. Identifying a small pilot team of enthusiasts to use Loop and showcase success stories to the rest of the organization. I feel this one is key. We did this a lot in Ntiva right here, where multiple people started using Loop more and more, and then started branching out to other members to show the value of a Loop. And then we're starting to see it more embraced across the organization. So creating the success early with a couple successful pilots, I think will allow people to understand the use cases and let them start small, and then they'll start using it on their own. Another piece of tips and trick for Loop is embedding Loop into existing workflows. You don't need to move all work into Loop app. Instead, use Loop component with tools people already use, like Teams chats and Outlook. For example, if your team has a recurring Teams chat for daily stand-ups, try inserting Loop components for daily task updates. People will interact with the component through familiar interfaces, gradually appreciating the benefits without actually having to switch to components. Next for Microsoft Loop is keeping components focused. A best practice emerges with Loop is keeping each component focused on a specific purpose. For instance, a table component strictly for backlog list or an action register, rather than dumping an entire project plan to one gigantic component. Focused components are easier to embed where it's relevant and also allows you to manage rights. And maybe you need to only share specific components with a specific team. So keeping it focused on specific tasks is key. And lastly, Microsoft Loop for governance and lifecycle. Since Loop components is shareable, ensure your organization's data governance applies. Microsoft Loops respects Microsoft 365 security and compliance policies. but it's wise to establish norms like naming conventions for workspaces and retention guidelines, just as you might do in Teams and SharePoint today. For example, decide what happens to a project loop workspace when the project is concluded, perhaps exporting the PDF or locking the page. Defining these practice early prevents chaos as your content will grow. Now, next up, in the era of rampant data growth and tightening regulations, Microsoft Purview is a tool set within Microsoft 365 aimed at data governance, data protection, and compliance. It's a comprehensive solution that brings together what used to be disparate compliance features like data loss prevention, information protection, and audit logging under one umbrella. Purview helps organizations discover where their data is, manage who has access, protect sensitive data information from leaks, and meet regulatory requirements, all using the capabilities potentially included in your Microsoft 365 plan today. Now, some of the key features of Microsoft Purview is the data discovery and classification. Purview can automatically scan and catalog data across the digital estate, including emails, SharePoint, OneDrive files, team chats, and even potentially on-prem or multi-cloud data sources. It uses built-in sensitive information types like credit card numbers, social security numbers, and machine learning to classify data by sensitivity. This creates a map of where your sensitive or important information lives. With data classifications, you can gain visibility into previously hidden data, sometimes called shadow data, which is critical for data governance. Also, Microsoft Purview has information protection, which also is encompassing into the labels and encryption. You can define sensitivity labels, example, public, confidential, or highly confidential, that users can use, or potentially auto classification can be applied to the documents and emails. These labels can enforce encryptions or watermark and travel with the content. For example, a document labeled confidential can be automatically be encrypted so only internal employees can open it. Purview provides a unified labeling system that works across Office apps, SharePoint, Exchange, helping ensure data is handled properly wherever it goes. Now, also with Microsoft Purview, it has the data loss prevention or DLP. DLP policies in Purview enable you to prevent unauthorized of sharing sensitive data. For instance, a policy can detect if somebody attempts to email out the file containing a customer credit card number or block the email or warn the user, thus avoiding a potential breach. You can set rules for the data in transit, emails, chats, and at rest, files in Outlook or SharePoint. Microsoft Purview DLP covers many services and can take actions like blocking, notifying, or just auditing the incidents. Microsoft Purview also allows for insider risk management. Beyond external threats, Microsoft Purview allows to help detect risky behavior on the inside. It can monitor user activities and communications for signs of data misuse or policy violations. For example, if an employee suddenly downloads a large number of confidential files or sends sensitive information to their personal email, Microsoft Purview can flag this as a potential insider risk incident. It leverages machine learning to identify anomalous patterns while respecting user privacy and by aggregating all the data. Next up for Microsoft Purview is basically a record management and retention. The Purview allows organizations to define retention policies and labels to keep content for a required period of time. Do not delete after a certain time period. And this allows for making sure you're in compliance with laws or internal policies. For instance, you might need to retain financial records for 7 years. Purview can auto-label ensure those records are not deleted prematurely and are disposed of when the time comes. Conversely, it can also auto-delete old content that is no longer has value to the business, reducing your clutter. And lastly, Microsoft Purview does allow for audit and e-discovery. Purview provides a robust audit logging of actions across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. Who accessed the document, sent an email, deleted a file within a certain time range. This audit trail is invaluable for forensic analysts and satisfying compliance auditors. Additionally, Microsoft Purview includes e-discovery tools to search and collect data across mailboxes, Teams, SharePoint, when a user needs to respond to legal inquiries or internal investigation. There's also an advanced e-discovery that even helps manage legal holds or review data with tagging and annotation for legal cases. Now, overall, Microsoft Purview acts as an enterprise data guardian. It is increased visibility into your data, enforcing rules to protect that data, and provides tools to meet legal and compliance obligations. Microsoft 365, many of Microsoft 365 customers have these capabilities available to them, but have yet to turn it on, meaning they miss out on protection and risk mitigation that they already entitled to use. Now, some of the capabilities, Microsoft Purview's capabilities, translate into very concrete benefits across various departments and risk scenarios. So you can also use Microsoft Purview for preventing sensitive data leaks. A financial service company can use Microsoft Purview's DLP to stop a client's PII from leaking. For example, a DLP policy can automatically detect if an email contains a social security number or credit card number and block it or apply encryption. This directly addresses the business challenge of inadvertent data leaks via email or Teams. It also educates users by warning them in real time that this content is confidential. Are you sure you want to share this externally? Microsoft Purview also allows for simplifying compliance audits. Considering organizations are subject to GDPR or HIPAA, with Microsoft Purview audit logs and data classification, responding to compliance audits or DSARs, data subject access requests, become easier. If an auditor asks who has access to the patient record X, Purview's unified audit log can quickly provide the history of the file's access. If a user requests forgot my data, Purview's data catalog can help locate all instances of that user data across emails and files, etc. Microsoft Purview can also help speed up legal investigations. The legal department often needs to collect emails and documents relevant to a case or HR investigation. The Purview's e-discovery tool allows for a compliance officer or paralegal to search across all mailboxes, SharePoint sites for specific words or users, then export the results to review for later. This might replace an otherwise cumbersome process of IT pulling backups. It ensures that no stone is unturned, as Purview can search the entire tenant's content subject to permission in one go. Microsoft Purview also allows for the establishment of data governance across silos. Large enterprises often have data spread across multiple platforms, on-prem file servers, multiple cloud servers. The Purview scanning and catalog can bring a unified view to all your data assets. For instance, an IT team can use Purview to automatically inventory all the SharePoint sites and classify data within them, identifying where sensitive client data is stored. They might discover, say, open SharePoint site with confidential data and lock them down, a risk that would remain hidden without Microsoft Purview's data visibility view. As mentioned earlier, Microsoft Purview also allows for insider threat detection. If an employee is prepared to quit or tries to take the company data, a not uncommon scenario, Microsoft Purview Risk Insider Management can catch it. For example, if a user suddenly downloads many confidential files or starts sending a flurry of emails with attachments to their personal address, Purview can alert security. This early warning can trigger internal investigations to prevent a breach. In one real scenario, a company discovered an employee emailing out a client list after Purview flagged unusual activity. They were able to intervene immediately. Also, Purview allows for reducing duplicate and stale data. And more benign use case, Purview can identify redundant or old data to clean up. By scanning and identify duplicate files and content that passes retention period, Purview helps data management teams purge what is not needed. This not only reduces the storage cost, but also minimizes risk, less data that can be breached. It also enforces the principle of keeping only what is needed and reduces the clutter by improving overall data hygiene. It can also cut down on potential backup costs if you're paying by the gigabyte for your 365 backup solution. Now, the impact of Microsoft Purview can also be quantified. Data breaches are enormously expensive. I think the last average we saw was around $5 million per incident. I think this was captured back in 2024. And often data breaches are exacerbated by what was called that shadow data or lack of oversight. IBM found breaches involving data spread across multiple environments cost significantly more than that $5 million average, or took longer to contain. Microsoft Purview directly tackles these instances and issues by increasing the data visibility and control, thereby potentially saving millions by averting breaches and reducing their scope. Even enabling the basic functions of Purview, DLP, or retention policies can drastically lower your chances of a costly mistake or compliance fine. Now, I believe it's maybe about a year ago now, I did a webinar all in Microsoft Purview. Please scan this QR. It'll go right to the blog, go right to the webinar I had for kind of showing examples how you can use this today. Check it out. I recommend getting started. Getting started, and this does take a lot of planning ahead of time, so I recommend reaching out to Ntiva if you're a client so we can understand what your use cases are to get it going. But most often, if you're utilizing Microsoft 365 Business Premium, Microsoft 365 E3 or E5, these are included in your license today, and we can take advantage to make sure your data is set up to be secure. Now, some tips and tricks to get started here is if you're doing this on your own, is to assign clear ownership and roles. Governance is a team sport involving IT, security, compliance officers, and legal from the start. Microsoft Purview provides a role-based access, compliance administrator, record manager, and assigns responsible owners for configuring Purview policies to ensure stakeholders from legal to HR have the appropriate access to do e-discovery and analytics. Cross-functional collaboration is key since Microsoft Purview spans technical and compliance domains. Would also recommend when you get started, starting with built-in policies and then expand from there. If you're new to Purview, start by enabling the recommended default policies. For example, Microsoft 365 comes with some predefined sensitivity information types and deep DLP templates, like the one to detect credit card numbers or GDPR data. Implement one or two of these in audit mode to see what would be caught. From there, iterate, customize the policies to fit your specific needs. Add policies to prevent confidential data labels from being shared outside, and gradually cover more areas, such as device control, cloud app data governance, instead of trying to boil the ocean all on day one. Next, we're going to start taking a look at educating employees on the labels and the warnings. The governance tool works best alongside user awareness. Train staff on any sensitive labels that you introduce, what they mean and how they apply. Also, let everyone know that DLP is in place and they might see policy tips if they try to send restricted information. This turns Purview into a teaching tool. The next time someone sees this message contains confidential information and gets blocked, they'll understand the policy and likely adjust behavior. A culture of data care helps Microsoft Purview be effective rather than being seen as Big Brother. Also, with Microsoft Purview, I'd recommend leveraging the dashboard and reports. Microsoft Purview includes a dashboard, a compliance score, DLP incident reports that can provide insights into your risk posture. Regularly review those reports. The compliance scores, for instance, is an automated checklist and for improving your actions. It can help guide you to the priority. Maybe it flags that you haven't set up MFA or lack retention policy on a certain content type. Use these insights for a continuous improvement. Treat compliance as an ongoing process, not as a one-time project. And finally, Microsoft Purview integrates, you can integrate Microsoft Purview with your incident response plan. For your internal IT team, make sure that Microsoft Purview alerts for DLP, violations, or insider risk alerts are integrated into their incident response workflow. For example, if you have alerts feed into your SIEM or ticketing system, so they can promptly address when things occur. When these incidences do occur, like a suspected leak, use Microsoft Purview to audit and e-discover immediately to scope it. The faster you investigate and respond, the lower the impact potentially will be. Speed and preparedness will be your ally in minimizing the damage in a data breach. All right, next up is Microsoft Viva Insights. Now, Microsoft Viva Insights is part of the Microsoft Viva Employee Experience Suite, focusing on productivity and well-being insights for both individuals and organizations. In our always-on work culture, it's easy for employees to become overwhelmed or for teams to develop unhealthy work habits like too many meetings or working after hours. Viva Insights addresses these by analyzing work patterns from Office 365 data like calendar, emails, team chats, and providing personalized insights and recommendations to help people work smarter and to find balance. Crucially, Insights has two sides. First is the personal insight for individual employee gains. It is a private to each user, helping them understand and improve their own work habits. Also, it has a management and organizational insights from managers and leaders. This aggregates and de-identifies metrics that highlights the team and company-wide trends like burnout risk or collaborative patterns without exposing the individuals to that data. Some of the key features of Insight include focused team scheduling. Viva Insights can identify free blocks in your calendar and help schedule focus time, which is uninterrupted time for deep work. During this focus time, Teams and Outlook can be silenced for notifications, and you also can go in there in Teams and allow certain people to break into that focus time, which is very handy as well. And this helps individuals combat the constant interruptions and to get the meaningful work done on a daily basis. Viva also allows for personal productivity metrics. Each user can see to statistics like how many hours they spend in meetings or emails or doing work like focus work or multitasking during that as well. The Insight app uses Microsoft Graph data to paint a picture of your work patterns. You've had 23 meetings over the last week, totaling 10 hours, and 5 of them were after 6 p.m. These personal analytics help users reflect and potentially make changes. For instance, if you're seeing you're spending 60% of your time in meetings, you might try to reduce some of those recurring calls. With Microsoft Viva Insights, it also has AI-based recommendations. Viva Insights provides suggested tailored to the individuals. For example, if it notices you often had meetings throughout lunchtime, it might suggest scheduling a daily lunch break to focus time. Or if you're collaborating frequently with a particular project, it may suggest relevant documents or people to follow up with. These nudges, powered by patterns in your data, aim to improve productivity. For example, if you have 3 hours of focus time open on Friday morning, consider reserving it. Viva also allows for well-being features that are included in the Microsoft space. Microsoft has woven in well-being reminders such as take a break prompts, a virtual commute end of the day exercise, and even integrating with a meditation app like Headspace. Viva Insights might ask you how you're feeling today in a quick check-in or guide you through a short mindfulness exercise via the Insight app and Teams. There's also praise features, which encourages employees to send recognition to colleagues, fostering a positive culture. The virtual commute helps users wrap up in the day, reviewing upcoming tasks for tomorrow, and then prompting them to disconnect and mindfully ending their workday. Viva also has team and organizational insights. For managers with proper privacy safeguards, Viva can surface aggregate metrics for such as after-hours collaborations, meeting overload, and cross-team communication patterns. For example, a manager can see what percentage of their team has been working after hours or on weekends, or how much time a team collectively spent in meetings this month. Team cohesion metrics can show networks, which are certain subgroups not interacting much with each other. These analytics can help teams spot signs of burnout, like constantly working long over the weekend or silo communications. Viva will even highlight potential organization cancellations, like suggesting canceling redundant meetings if it sees the same group is double booked a lot. Microsoft Viva also has privacy preservations. It's important to note that the individual data that Viva Insight has access to is keeping it private to the individual. Managers cannot see the data about a specific person. They can only see aggregated and anonymized trends for the groups to make sure that the privacy is designed right at the beginning. This ensures that employees know that using Viva Insights for self-improvement won't result in a manager peering at their personal habits. By combining these features, Viva Insight both provides coaching for the individual employees, help them develop better work habits, and a dashboard for organizational health, helping management create a more effective and healthy work environment. And the basic personal insights are included in the Microsoft 365 plans, Enterprise E3 and above, with no extra cost, meaning most users can benefit from this license immediately. Now, some of the use cases of Microsoft Viva is it can have a positive change to your day-to-day work life. And some scenarios where it can make a difference are reducing meeting overhead. Many employees feel swamped by back-to-back meetings. Viva Insights might reveal that an employee, say, had 30 hours of meetings last week and very little focus time. With the awareness of the employee or the manager can take action, perhaps implement a no meeting Wednesdays or trim down the attendee list of certain meetings to free up time. Insights can also identify long recurring meetings and that might be broken up into shorter ones. By using virtualization meeting load, it provides a hard data to support a culture that of change instead of just feeling guilty that you can't always keep up. It can also help improve work-life balance. An individual might use insights to discover they are regularly working late or responding to emails on the weekend. The app will gently flag this. You've had an after-hours activity on 5 of the last 5 workdays. It might even suggest setting up quiet hours or booking focus time to catch up during the regular office hours. It can also enhance team cohesion. A manager looking at Viva Insights might see that two sub-teams in the department hardly communicate with each other. Knowing this, a manager can facilitate more cross-teams touch points or joint meetings to improve information flow. Viva can also be used to ensure focus on the important aspects of work. For individuals, setting up the focus time that Insights recommends can be transformational. For example, an engineer can schedule 3 2-hour focus blocks per week. Over a quarter, they'll find they'll advance their projects even further with that advanced heads up on the focus time. Also, utilizing the recognition and improvement meeting quality within Viva is very important. It's not just about the quantity of meetings, it's about the quality of meetings. Viva Insights can prompt users for after a meeting series to rate it if it was effective or suggesting rotating the meetings of free weeks. For instance, if the data shows a team spends 10 hours a week on a status meeting that multiple people have multitask through, it might be a sign to cancel it in favor of a different in favor of a different update method. Insights and feedback loops encourage questions of the ROI and long outstanding routines. I find this actually great because you can actually see how often people are multitasking, not who is, but you can see a trend of if multitasking is occurring over these meetings. So you can potentially shrink it down to only the important people that need to be there, or shrink down the time of the meeting itself. And lastly, promoting employee well-being initiatives. A company rolled out a well-being program, Eating Free Friday on afternoons, and Viva Insights can help track the impact. Does after-hour work dip down after this change? Are employees booking focus time or taking virtual commute exercises? There's one large organization that found encouraging users to use the virtual commute, the end of the day wrapped up, help employees mentally disengage from work on that evening. Overall, Viva Insights help tackle productivity killers, excessive meetings, and constant interruptions, health risks such as overwork and lack of breaks, by making them visible and actionable. It's about working smarter, not harder, and using data driven suggestions to create healthfully work habits, which turn the organization to be more effective. Now, I've done a webinar on this, I think probably earlier this year as well, called Microsoft Viva Insights. I recommend take a look at this QR code, scan it, it'll go right to the blog, like I mentioned before, and there's even a walkthrough webinar on that, so you can see how you can get started utilizing Microsoft Viva Insights today. Now, to get started this, I recommend looking at the enabling and encouraging opt-in feature within Microsoft Viva, ensuring that Viva Insights, at least the personal features, enable for your organization. For users to get value, they should pin the Viva Insight app in Teams and spend a few minutes exploring it. It may help to run a internal campaign to explain that Insights is available and what it does, and emphasizing that the personal data is private. Also, look at respecting personal boundaries. Managers should use the aggregated insights responsibly. They should not frame it as monitoring tool for productivity, but rather as a way to help the teams as a whole. For example, if a manager sees many after-hour emails, instead of singular individuals, they should address it via team norms. Like I've noticed a lot of us sending emails on the weekend, and let's try to limit that and give everyone a break. This approach uses the data to foster a healthier culture and not micromanagement. And also look at acting on the insights. The data is only useful if if it leads to action. If Viva Insights identifies a problem, only 2 hours of focus time for the team on an average per week, create a plan to improve it. Maybe block a no meeting half day or use Teams quiet hour setting. Checking back in a month to see if the metrics improve. Treat it like a continuous improvement cycle, similar to how one might use a fitness tracker to adjust exercise and then monitor the progress. I'd also take a look at exploring the management and advanced insights if it is licensed. With the Microsoft Personal Insights, which is included in the most 365 plans, consider exploring the Management Insights via Viva Insights Advanced Features, which might have the Viva Suite license included. If you are larger organizations, these can be valuable organization analytics. Just remember that the advanced features adhere to privacy, they aggregate data only, and often require significant users' content to unlock. Use it well. They can highlight systematic issues like meeting burnouts across the division and inform higher policy changes like company-wide focus Fridays. Lastly, I would look at celebrating improvements. When a team or individual makes positive change, say a team cuts the average of hours worked by 50% last quarter, or someone consistently protected their focus time, acknowledge it. This could be as simple as a shout out in a Teams meeting. Thanks to everyone embracing the no meetings Wednesdays. Or the Viva Insight shows we got 20% more focus time as a result. Small wins will motivate further use of the tools and reinforce that leadership cares about sustainable productivity, not just the raw output. In conclusion, each of these Microsoft 365 features, Power Automate, Microsoft Lists, Microsoft Loop, Microsoft Purview, and Viva Insights offer practical solutions to everyday business challenges without requiring additional investments. They are powerful extensions of the tools that you're already using today. Power Automate can turn repetitive tasks and manual processes into streamlined workflows, saving time and reducing errors. Microsoft List can organize data and tasks, bringing clarity and collaboration to work management. Microsoft Loop reimagines teamwork by enabling fluid code creation and ensuring everyone stays on the same page in real time. Microsoft Purview provides a peace of mind through robust data governance, protecting your organization information and compliance posture. And finally, Viva Insights shines on your light on the work pattern, guiding both individuals and managers to work smarter and foster well-being. By fully utilizing these tools you already have, your organization can increase productivity, enhance collaboration, and strengthen data security and improve going forward. Thank you so much for this joining the webinar. I hope you learned a lot, and I look forward to all talking to you next week. Thank you so much. Bye.